something to the discipline aspect of it that we could touch on if you're
You
interested.
bet. You bet, man. Absolutely, guys. Well, first of all, thank you everybody for showing up. If nothing but consistent on you guys that come here every week. So thank you. Hopefully this will continue to get more people in here. But let me kick off his background before I even give you this gentleman's name. You ready for this? Three-time national championship windsurfer. He was on the Olympic team for the U.S. as a windsurfer. So obviously, you guys, he's a winner. He's an athlete, and like he was starting to say a minute ago, I totally agree. There's a certain discipline, and when you get to that kind of a skill set, I can't even fathom that. I grew up like my buddy here, Bill, playing sports my whole life, but I never hit the top of my game as a world champion. So thank you again, Don, for coming on here. Listen to this, guys. He went on to own over 30 KW franchises, obviously one of the largest franchise owners in America. Joined DXP, has just killed it because obviously that's what this guy does, is a great athlete. But let me help us, should I say, welcome Mr. Don Yoakum.
Well,
Hey, Don, it is a privilege, sir. We sincerely appreciate it. And yeah, I'm very excited to kind of dig in. So let's start off, maybe elaborate on any part of your background you think would really relate with any of us that are trying to build this rev share.
okay. Well, since you emphasize the athletic component to such a degree, I think at least it might be valuable to talk about how some of what I learned in that endeavor that has transferred over into my business.
Yeah.
And so it's my belief that anybody that reaches, let's say, collegiate level sports is had to develop a certain sense of discipline, coachability, persistence, resilience. We all get knocked down in life. We're going to be defined by whether or not we get back up and what that looks like. And do we have the courage to risk again? And that is something that I think if you're going to go after anything of substance, any greatness, you're going to have also some significant failures. And don't let those define you. If maybe if you're taking notes, one of the first notes that I would have you consider writing down is that when times are really good, you'll probably give yourself too much credit. When when times are really bad, you'll probably be overly critical of yourself. Okay? So keep in mind that you can't control those outside forces. You can only determine your response to them. And so I love a rainy day for an event with just blustery, crappy weather because I know people are going to be whining about that and they'll be distracted from the mission at hand, which is to get the job done, right?
Yeah.
And so, this NAR suit is a great example of that. We could look at that and go, oh gosh, here they are after us again, trying to, get more of our commission. But, truth be told, what we really, to me, this is a wake up call that we just need to pay our buyer appointments with the same respect we've been giving our listing appointments for decades.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yep.
so now, and what I'm actually seeing in some of these mastermind chats where people are saying, hey, buyers are saying they want to go see a property, but they're not willing to commit. I'm not willing to go do that. And so I think that some really positive stuff is going to come out of this where we kind of stake our ground and say, hey, I am a person of value. What I do makes a difference, and I'm going to be paid for my services. And if you're not going to respect them, then I'm not going to play taxi driver for you. So anyway, just a thought there that whenever, and I guess going back to this resilience piece, I have gotten myself, by the way, into some real pickles. And I like John was mentioning that I had a principal's interest in 30 market centers. Well, can you imagine what that was like? when the crash hit in 2007 and 8.
Jeez. No.
Okay. And so bigger in this case was not better, let me tell you. So, although I will say, if you did have an office that was over 200 agents, economy of scale would compensate for that. But something that I did, a practice that I established in that period of time was, when I just would feel overwhelmed with circumstance, I would just stand up from my desk, go over to the window. I had a little view of the mountains. I'd take a few breaths, and then I would just say, okay, well, what can I do? Right? Yeah. I know there's all kinds of things I'm not able to do right now, but what can I do today to move this thing forward? Right?
Yeah.
And so anyway, that's probably what I wanted to say, Sean, about the sports is just, and it, by the way, sports, there's not an exclusive domain of sports, and having that correlate over to business. I don't care if somebody's taken being an artist, or plays the violin, or does anything at a high level, ping pong, tennis, golf, whatever. Okay, there's a certain set of strategies and disciplines that are required to reach the top of any field that transfer over. And it's just so rare for people to get up each and every day and do what they need to do to succeed. And sometimes, like, I had a gentleman several months ago now come to me and said, gosh, Don, I'm really struggling with my rev share. And I said, okay, well, what's your plan? Send me over your plan. Okay, well, no surprise, he did not have a written plan for his rev share.
Yep.
Okay, how many calls do you make in a day? Well, it depends. Okay, that means hardly none. What time of day do you have blocked out for revenue share? Oh, I don't really block it out. I just do it in between appointments. Okay, well, is it any mystery why this guy is struggling in building an organization?
Okay. Yeah, he needs to prioritize, time block, set aside. Yeah, a lot of the disciplines he's missing.
100%, right? So for those of you that are here today, you knew this conversation was going to be about rev share. The first stake in the ground that I would ask you to do, all of us, if you have a goal for your rev share, let's say by the end of this year, put it in the chat. I'd love to see that. Okay. And then if you are one of those people that has blocked out a particular time of day to do your rev share, to build your revenue share, build your sales. By the way, when someone asks what I do, I say I'm building a sales organization on the eXp platform, right? So when I was at KW, I was building a sales organization within the KW franchise network. Now I'm building a sales organization on the eXp platform. Okay. So what I'd like to know is who's got 1 hour a day blocked out. If you've got 1 hour a day blocked out, at least put that in the chat. Okay. And then, do we know exactly what we're doing? Kelly's got 2 hours a day blocked out. Kelly, come off mute. Tell me what you're doing in those 2 hours.
One is outbound calls, connecting with people.
Yep.
I host a webinar on a weekly basis, kind of a attraction webinar that's focused on real estate investing. And the others are follow-up calls. Those I'm not doing as well on, making the time for the follow-up calls.
Okay. And when you're making your outbound calls, who are you calling?
Cold calling.
Okay, but who specifically? What type of agent? Like this production?
Yeah, realtors that are closing 15 transactions or more over the last year.
Okay. All right, which is good. I have a phrase. You guys might want to write this down. If somebody is doing icon level business, so 28 plus transactions a year, and they're not at eXp, they're literally committing financial malpractice on their family.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kelly, one of the things that I would encourage you to consider is raising your standard just a little bit. Okay, because if you are in that 15 category, then that's good, especially in the last year, because somebody that was doing 28 sales a year might be doing 15 right now. Okay, that being said, if somebody is doing 28 right now, they're an absolute solid icon. And you can feel when you communicate with them that if they're there should be a really good reason why they're not at eXp. Like they own the brokerage. Well, in which case they should probably bring the brokerage over, right? Or their mom is the broker. But the point is that, you know, if they are at a different brokerage, that's like they're a square peg in a round hole, right? We have that fit for them. So one of the things that, and how much production do you personally do? Are you producing at this time?
I'm not, I'm a full-time financial advisor.
Oh, okay. Nice. Nice.
And so all my real estate is referral.
Okay. Very good. That's an interesting perspective to come from. That might actually be an interesting conversation starter. Huh.
It's a great one. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet it is.
Retirement. There's no better retirement than what we have.
Yeah,
frankly.
right. Yeah. I did a talk in Cabo a few weeks ago. Matt, as a matter of fact, Sean, maybe you could put the link for that in the chat. But what I said in that talk was that I'd never seen a risk reward profile like this. I mean, where can you put up a whopping $149 and build something that could generate a 6, but even 7-figure recurring income and a $10 million asset? Net revenue goes for 10 times its net annual amount, right? So if you're generating $1 million, which you can do with a 2,000 person organization, assuming you have a good agent mix and you're getting paid on all your levels, that's a $10 million asset that you've built. So Sean, we can talk about a number of different things, but so far, I hope what your folks have heard is that if they're serious about building a sales organization on this platform, number one, they got to have at least 1 hour blocked out per day, 5 days a week. Number two, you should be calling at least 5 people in that hour. Number three, you should be really clear about who you're calling, and you never, here's the rule, you never decide who you're going to call the day of the call. So you know today who you're calling tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay. And you should know in your heart of hearts that the person that you're calling doesn't realize that they're not at the right place, right? In other words, that's why I said to Kelly, you know, maybe she should consider raising her standard even a little bit more, because, you know, if somebody's a capper and they're not building revenue share and they don't aspire to be an icon, you could make an argument there'd be a lot of other places you could go that would be just as good as eXp. But if they are, even if they are doing 15 now and they aspire to be an icon, even if they don't want to do revenue share, there's no better place to be than eXp. Okay. So go ahead, Sean.
Don, yeah, I was gonna say, Don, what I'm not aware of, out of curiosity, one, when did you come over? And I'm assuming from what you're saying, but I don't want to assume, what is the main reason you came over? If you own 30 plus franchise, and I don't know what happened after 0809. Not you want to elaborate on that if you lost a bunch of the offices, but what's the main reason you came over and when?
Yeah. So I built 10 from the ground up. Those all made it through the crash. I actually did consolidate one lease, so we went down to 9 during the crash, but otherwise it was fine. One of the challenges that I had with the market centers that we acquired, 14 of the 21 we acquired, needed turning around, and we weren't able to turn around 11 of them. And so we closed 6, we sold 5 below our basis, took pretty material loss actually. And but more importantly, it revealed to me the character of the organization, because you can imagine it, like at one point, the market centers that I had built from the ground up were paying 60% of the franchise royalty in Northern California, Hawaii region, right? So I made these folks a lot of money. And I wasn't feeling the love when times got tough. And, you know, that's usually when the character of a person or an organization is revealed. And I wasn't too pleased with what I saw was revealed in that circumstance. So I left the company in 2010, and I sold out of my interest. So it was actually quite a period of time. I went into coaching at that point before leaving KW and then joining eXp, because I joined I effectively 2019. So you know, I'm coming up on 5 years active in the eXp organization, and it has been a tremendous experience. Actually, you know, unfortunately I probably came into this a little bit too much with the KW mentality, which is their motto is, you know, pretty much hire anything that can fog a mirror as long as it's legal, ethical, and moral. And I have found that doesn't work quite as well in eXp. And matter of fact, I don't hire new agents unless I can get them onto what I consider a high functioning team that has a little local office, so they feel they have a high level of support. And of course, as I have indicated to Kelly, I'm a big fan of recruiting icons. So if I had it to do over again, I think I would have a much greater concentration of who I attracted, right? And in a separate talk that I did for Brent and Maui in 2023, I talked about separating my calls between icons, people that are leaders. KW team leader is pretty ideal because they're a trained recruiter, but doesn't have to be. Could be someone that built an independent brokerage. And then production team leads are good, and independent brokers are also good. So if I were going to make 5 calls a day, which I think is an excellent discipline, then those would be the groups of folks that I would call. That doesn't mean I wouldn't recruit other people. If a new agent came to me and they looked like they had a great attitude and they had a track record of success, I would gladly, you know, find a home for them in the right situation. But I'm talking about my intention, right? And I think that what I have seen with the people that have succeeded in this is that they have a clear written plan, and they just follow that daily discipline. You know, like I'm suggesting 1 hour a day, 5 calls a day. You know, and incidentally, if you're making 5 calls with that to that caliber of professional, you're probably only going to reach 1 of them in a day. And you can decide whether you want to leave messages or not, or follow up. But, you know, for those of you that are in production, a little tip I would give you is I want you to think about, you know, how we're trained with our spheres of influence to have a database of 300 people and show up to them as a real estate resource and to become their realtor of choice. Well, the theory is that if there's 300 people out there that own homes and you are their real estate resource and you come to them from a place of contribution and you become their realtor of choice, and if they move every 10 years, well, that's 30 sales a year. Bam, you're an icon. Okay, that's a great living. Well, here's an interesting little tidbit for you. You should write down. Agents, brokers move every 5 years. Okay, so we're out there communicating with 300 homeowners because they're moving once in 10 years. Well, why not take a look at where you are? Like Mark Mess, where are you located?
Columbus, Ohio.
Okay, so what are some of the top relo markets to your market?
Right now, California, because Intel's coming here.
Perfect. Okay. And
Probably New York.
okay. So by the way, you can go to Google and ask the top reload markets to your market, and it'll tell you statistically. Okay. So, and are you producing right now?
Yes.
Okay. At what level?
The icon level.
Okay, awesome. I had a hunch because you were paying attention. At least it looked like from your facial expressions. That's why I'm picking on you. So you're in a really unique position, Mark. What I would do if I were you is I would reach out to 300 icons across the country that worked in independent brokerages. You could choose, like KW or Remax folks, like where I came from, but there's a higher tendency of franchise agents to refer in network than independent, right? So if you were to reach out to independent agents that produced at the icon level, and just, it would be, the call would sound something like this. So ring, ring, ring. You'd say, hi, this is Mark. I'd say, hi, Mark, this is Don Yoakum. I'm reaching out to you because you appear to be a top producing agent in Columbus, Ohio with Bumblebee Realty. Am I getting that right? And you say, sure. Yes, Don, how can I help you? And I say, well, Mark, I'm a top producer like you out of Hood River, Oregon, which is a suburb of Portland. And I closed 37 deals last year. And I'm looking for a trusted referral partner in Columbus. And so, well, first question I'd like to ask Mark is, are you interested in having relocation referrals?
Absolutely. I'll take any leads we can get, that's how it all starts, right?
Fantastic. Well, that's great to hear. So you don't mind working with buyers?
Not at all.
Okay.
I'm ready. I'm prepared and ready and motivated to see how the future in real estate takes us,
Right. And I presume you've got the a script for this whole NAR conversation that's going on right now as well, right?
Absolutely. Listening to a lot of different podcasts, websites, my broker team, trying to gear up and make that conversation more natural every time I share it with someone.
Well, fantastic. Well, that's good to hear. And sounds like, obviously I called you because you have a track record of success. So I'm not surprised that you're prepared for this little wrinkle that we've been given. And so I guess my next question, Mark, is, do you know of another agent that you could entrust your clients with out of Hood River, Oregon?
Mhm.
No, not at this time. I've never even heard of Hood River.
Okay. Well, we're a small town on the Columbia River Gorge, about an hour's east of Portland. By the way, I do know a lot of folks in the Portland area and so forth. So if you ever have referrals for Portland, that's not within my service area, but I certainly could connect you with somebody that would be fantastic. But yeah, well, I'm glad I reached out then. And by the way, I'm part of a national network that's connected on an app of top producers like us. And we do a meeting every Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to come join us, you can be my guest next week for free. And it would be great to stay connected with you. And I hope that I have a Columbus referral sometime in the coming year. And be happy to share best practices with you. Is this the best number? Is this your cell that I've called?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Great. Well,
Yes. Send me that link to that Thursday meeting you guys have. It sounds interesting. I'd love to connect more and learn more about what your organization over there is doing there in terms of leads and that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll do that. And I'll just text it to the number I just called here.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So what I did there, you guys, is I built one relationship, right, with a icon level producer. Agents like Mark will statistically move every 5 years. Okay, if you're investing into a lot of stock at eXp, by the way, it's harder to make that move. So hopefully he won't leave eXp in 5 years. But the point is, the average agent that is working at one of these independent brokerages is going to move every 5 years. Okay, so if I make a daily practice of calling 5 people in a quarter, by the way, there's 60 working days. The reason why I like 300 is because if you take 300 and divide it by 60, it comes out to 5. So if I call 5 people a day to build that network, and that means I'm making a personal contact once a quarter. And if I, 4 out of 5 times, I'm probably not going to reach Mark, right? I was lucky today to get him. But the point is that I can leave him a message. Hey, Mark, just thinking about you. When we last chatted, you mentioned you had the goal of doing XYZ. Wondering how that's going. Is there anything I can do to help? By the way, we're having, some event, invite him to an event or something like that. But the point is, I want to be top of mind for him so that when he has a referral, it would come to me. Okay. Now, if I have built relationships with 300 agents, Mark, would you say that in a given, how many transactions a year do you do?
Anywhere from 25 to 36.
Okay. And do you, about 20% of your people relocate? Are you sending out about 6 referrals a year?
I'd say a little less than that, 4 to 6.
Okay.
Well, they're not, I guess the ones that are closing. So closing about 4 to 6.
Yeah. You probably send more like 6 to 8.
Yes.
Yeah. That, which is typical. So here's some interesting math for you guys. If Mark builds a network of 300 independent brokers that have agreed to exclusively refer him in Columbus, and they average 6 referrals a year, do you see how that's 1,800 referrals that are happening within his private network?
Yeah.
Okay. If 1% are coming or going from Columbus, Mark adds 18 transactions a year. What's the average sales price in your market?
About 325, probably 350.
Okay, so say $7,500. So we're talking about adding $125,000, $150,000 a year in income. My point is, if this strategy completely failed as an attraction system, and I don't think it will, he would be adding $125,000 to $150,000 in income to his personal practice. Okay? Now, what I think is going to happen is that he's going to stay in contact with 300 people. He's going to call 5 a day. Well, if 300 are moving on an average every 5 years, aren't 60 moving a year?
Yeah.
5 a month. How many of those 300 have somebody like Mark that's calling them every quarter, encouraging them, sharing best practices?
Probably not many.
That's right. 0.
Hmm.
I mean, Mark, you can tell us, has anyone ever done that for you in your career? How many years have you been in the business?
I've been in the business just 5 years, and no, I've never had that phone call. Also, I'm a firm believer their own brokers aren't even pouring into them like this. A lot of their brokers aren't doing what we're doing here, what you're suggesting we do.
Exactly. So that's the other thing. Not only will Mark add a dozen or so transactions, but remember, when he's sharing best practices, if he's made good partners, they're going to be sharing, like if he's talking to me and I'm in some small town in Hood River, Oregon, how in the heck am I doing 37 transactions? I got to be doing something right over here, right? And so if he's a learning-based person, and by the way, all of you that are here today have a learning-based attitude, otherwise you wouldn't have shown up, right?
Yep.
Okay. There's some questions popping in the chat. Let me look at that really quick.
Yep. Let's do it.
Okay, so what kind of meeting are you? Okay, yeah. No, Kelly, what that is Pro Insight it's a network. It's an app that it's a referral network. And every Thursday they do, for their members, they do a free training. And so they will generally interview a professional that a realtor has a relationship with. Interestingly enough, a few weeks ago, they did it with a financial planner like you. Okay. And they'll talk about how to have a professional referral relationship and bubble up opportunities for each other. Right. So but the point is, and you've got to just like you guys, when I'm training somebody on my sphere of influence, on their sphere of influence, I give them 4 calls. Call as a real estate resource. Do you need a painter, plumber, roofer, landscaper? Call and ask if real estate is part of their retirement strategy. Call and ask if they're living in their dream home or they have a desire for a second home. And then take copious notes on that. Send it to them once in a while. Hey, Mark, man, I was out looking at some property the other day. I came across this home. This looks just like your dream home. Is that still your dream? Is there anything I can do to help? Okay. News alert, by the way, just about everybody has a dream home or desires a second home that they don't have today. If you become that person that they share that, they've brought you into this small, intimate circle of probably less than 5 humans on the planet. Okay. And then if you're encouraging them, how many people do you have out there in the world encouraging you to get into your dream home? Right? Not too many, right? So if you're that person for somebody, you hold a special place for them. And I think you'll see referrals, maybe not just when they move once every 10 years. And then the 4th one is invite them to an event that you're participating in. And by the way, it doesn't have to be a real estate event. It could just be you bought some extra tickets to the Renaissance Fair or something, or the local football game.
Yeah.
And you just said, that Sean is interested in football, and you just said, hey, I've got an extra ticket and happy to give it to you. So go ahead, Sean. Do you have a question?
I was just going to say, obviously you did that talking icon. Obviously, if I don't know how many icons we have on here, maybe a handful. But if someone's not an icon, they're selling 10, 12, 15 homes, do you tweak that? You never want to lie. You just tweak the verbiage a little bit.
100%. Yeah. Here's what I found is you want to align yourself with people that are just one click ahead of you. So if you are doing 1 transaction a month, build a network of people that are doing 1.5 to 2. If you're doing 2, build a network of people that are doing 2.5 to 3. 3, build a network of people that are doing 4, right? What happens is if you are only doing 6 or 7 transactions a year, and then you go and mastermind with somebody that's doing 36, it's just that leap is too big. You can't necessarily relate to their world, nor do you have the resources to execute what they're doing. And they have a harder time coaching you because that was 5 years ago that they were at that level, right? So, and by the way, Mark seems to genuinely be willing to work with buyers. Most top producers are prima donnas when it comes to buyers. Okay. Yeah. So actually, if you really want to have a good reload buyer agent, it's probably more like somebody that's doing between 1 and 2 transactions a month. Okay. So build a network, though, that is going to not only be for attraction, but also to share best practices. And it's going to make, that whole thing about you're going to be the average of the sum of the 5 people that you surround yourself with. And, when you get to 2, don't forget to upgrade your network, okay, a little bit. And here's another thing I have found, by the way, if you do engage in a daily accountability with somebody, and by the way, for those of you that don't want to pay for coaching, but do want to improve your performance, a fantastic way to do that is to get yourself an accountability partner, and you just agree to text each other your big rocks every single day. So let's say that you've made a commitment to make 5 calls to your sphere and 5 attraction calls per day. So you've got 2 hours blocked in your calendar every day. and you know when those are. 9 to 10, I do my attraction. 10 to 11, I do my sphere. Okay. When you have done that, if Mark was my partner, I would put 5 green check mark, 5 green check mark. And Mark knows that that means I called 5 people in my sphere and 5 for attraction that day. If he doesn't see those 2 5s and 2 check marks by the end of the day, what I expect from him is to say, Don, dude, are you on vacation today? What's going on, bro? Okay. So now, after 90 days, you get too familiar. Mark and I become buddies. We start letting each other off the hook. And he learns my little skeletons in my closet. I learn his. It's less effective. Okay. So when you're doing an accountability partner like that, just rotate them every 90 days and make sure they're in a reload market to you. Okay. And if possible, obviously try to get somebody that is one click ahead of you. So
other than referral partners, accountability, so forth, do you have some different approaches when you're making cold calls to agents? Are you still within your sphere, being you have been a coach forever and had 30 offices? Are you still calling relationships, or are you into cold calling?
No. Yeah, no, I'm outside of my sphere at this point and have been for some time. Yeah. But to be, if I'm really honest with myself, there's still people in my sphere that I haven't called. Oh,
you've got a fear. Why have you not called them?
Oh, you know what? Because I'm imperfect, just like the rest of us.
Have you had somebody yet, Don, join who was on your list and you haven't called?
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah. 2 days ago, there's an agent that I'm Facebook friends with in Portland, and she happens to be really good friends with my sister. And I didn't have her number, but I was Facebook friends. I said, hey, Sherry, I know you're friends with Luz. Can you get me her number? And she was going to do it and everything. And 2 days ago, I'm on Facebook, and what do I see? She just moved brokerages. She'd been with her prior broker for over 10 years. Okay. And just made the move. Right now, I don't know if I would have gotten her or not, but I'm going to have a heck of a time getting her now because she just went through all that whole move. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I think, if you're serious about attraction, you're going to have an hour blocked in the day. You're going to know exactly who you're going to call, and you're going to make, I'm suggesting at least 5 calls in a day. But also, I would go further by saying, don't do this without an accountability partner. Have somebody that you have to text every single day. By the way, Sean was talking all about my athletic achievements and all this stuff. Okay. But do you know, I have a coach that I report my weight to and my activities every single day, 7 days a week. Okay. Because if I don't weigh every day and I don't report every day, you know what? I'm vulnerable to slipping, doing less than my best, right? So have somebody that's got your back like that, and be that person for somebody else is what I'm suggesting.
And I'm probably not speaking alone here, but some really great verbiage so far, and some different ideas and things to follow up or calls to make. Let's get creative again. What are some of the other ways that you reach out? So, and how does that dialogue start? So is it almost always referral partner? Kind of, what are some different things?
No. Oh, no, gosh, no.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, and here's the thing, I was chatting with one of my agents who, this really great young man, went to UC Berkeley, played football, and out of college, he became a tech recruiter in Silicon Valley and was quite successful at it, but then wanted to move back to the Sacramento area, actually Roseville, where I am right today, actually in a hotel room. And I asked him, I go, hey, gosh, with that recruiting background, are you planning to do attraction at eXp? you know, because he's at eXp now. He goes, well, I kind of was waiting until I become an icon. And I'm like, really? I mean, you just told me you were a successful tech recruiter straight out of college. How good at programming were you when you were recruiting all of those developers in Silicon Valley? He goes, man, I don't know how to code at all. I'm like, exactly. Okay. My point is, it's not about you. It's about, is the person you're calling the right fit for eXp? Okay. So now, I have suggested that icons are a really ideal fit, but you know, we have people of all levels. By the way, I think the average production at eXp now is 6.2, which is actually substantially above the national average, by the way, which is closer to 4. And so you guys, you know, we could have somebody that that's doing 6.2 transactions per year average and wants to get up to 36.2. But what some other ways of doing attraction would be to, I've known a guy that built a brokerage in Portland, actually. His number one way was to go to open houses, meet agents there.
Okay.
And, you know, don't be soliciting them at the open house, but just go into the open house, greet them, meet them, ask a lot of nice questions, and then follow up afterward. Kelly, you asked, what's the national average for what?
For agent production versus eXp 6.2. Did you say it's 4 point something?
Yeah, it's around 4. By the way, real is 2.7, by the way.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
We got a guy that left and went to real.
Yeah.
But 2 to the left went to LPT. I mean, they're obviously going after all of our agents. And other questions, guys. I could sit and ask them, but if anybody else want to ask anything specific to Don?
After you have that initial conversation, you know, with those, you know, 60 agents, you know, what is the next step? Where are you taking that agent, or are you using some sort of a CRM? Are you just keeping good notes? And then what is that next step?
Yeah, it's exactly what you would do for your sphere of influence. In other words, you know how I said there's 4 different calls for your sphere? I would do the exact same thing for those agents. I would just call, check in, share best practices. Basically, when Mark sees my caller ID, I want him to say to himself, you know what? This is a guy that I want to talk to because he's always coming from a place of contribution. So I don't want to get out of that call without you feeling like I made some sort of contribution to you. Right? Like the hot subject right now is obviously the NAR thing and how are we going to deal with the buyer broker situation. So I'm not practicing real estate today, but if I were, I would have a badass presentation right now. Okay. And I'd be willing to share that with Mark. Right? I'd say, hey, how's it going? And have you adjusted it the way that you're communicating with buyers? And if he's like, yeah, I have, but I'm struggling with it a little bit. And I'll say, well, I've developed a presentation. Would you like me to share it with you? And by the way, the whole thing's going to be branded eXp, right? So I haven't solicited him for eXp, but he can see that I've got this really well put together, structured presentation all in that brand. Geez, Don, where'd you get this? Well, my team provided it to me, right? Your broker hasn't done this for you? Oh gosh.
It's great that you're able to, you know, right now you're talking about conversations that you're sort of flowing into and flowing with. I'm reaching out to agents and, you know, sort of cold calling some of them. Now I just became an agent 5 years ago, so I don't have a huge sphere. So a lot of the people that I'm calling are, you know, are people that I don't know, and I'm trying to build a quick relationship, you know, try to strike a connection early on, and then maybe ask for a cup of coffee or, you know, somehow sometimes I can't even get that agent to go get a cup of coffee with me. You know,
Yeah.
people are so busy, and I get that. So I'm trying to find ways to naturally break that. I like what you're saying. So continue.
Well, the key, Mark, is remember the radio station what is it? What's in it for me, right? In other words, if I'm going to have a cup of coffee with you, why is that going to be good for me? You have apparently some agenda to want to take me to coffee. I presume that would be good for you, right? So I got to believe if I'm going to take the time to talk to you or go meet with you, that it's going to be a benefit to me, right? So you've got to figure out a way of making that a win for them, whether or not they join you at eXp.
I'm probably not asking enough of the right questions to engage them for that, you know, exciting opportunity to maybe get together and explore further. Not eXp, but just explore whatever topic we've hit on.
Yeah, well, by the way, you guys, please do not solicit people during a transaction. Okay, but once the transaction is closed, every co-op agent that you enjoy doing business with, make sure you send them a personalized handwritten note. Okay. 3 days after you've mailed that personalized handwritten note, call them. Hey, Mark, this is Don. Now, Mark just got a personalized hand. You've done now, over 100 transactions, Mark. How many personalized handwritten notes have you gotten after the close of the escrow from the co-op agent?
I've received 0. And interesting, I actually did take an agent to lunch after a transaction. Wanted to thank him. We had a great experience, and I wrote him a note, and I left because somebody gave me that suggestion.
Okay, so you've done over 100 transactions and not received a single handwritten note of thanking you for your professionalism and cooperation. Okay. So guys, if there's one thing that you could take away from this call is don't miss that opportunity. Do that. When I was at KW, by the way, I was recruiting 2 people a month with this one strategy. I call it the co-op agent. As a team leader, I sent a personalized handwritten note on every single transaction of all my agents in my office. Okay. And I just said, hey, Mark, congratulations on your sale of 234 Timberlake Lane with Sean. We appreciate your cooperation if he was the listing agent, or we appreciate your support if he was representing the buyer. Best wishes, Don. Put my business card in there. Okay. And then I called him 3 days later. Hey, by the way, Mark, I was talking to Sean, again, congratulations on your guys' sale. He told me you guys had quite a problem with the roof and that your buyer was considering even backing out. We really appreciate you stabilizing that transaction. And, Sean was telling me that if I were looking to grow our team, that you'd be a magnificent person for me to chat with. So I was just reaching out and just interested in learning more about your business. How is it going? I mean, obviously you did this one well, but are you doing the amount of business that you want to do right now? And he'd probably say, well, no, because by the way, I've hardly ever met an agent that didn't want to do one more deal a month. Okay. So Sean's like, well, I'm doing like 25, but I'd like to be doing 35. And I'd say, well, you're doing 25 though. I'm curious what is working for you. And he'd tell me, and then I would learn what he is doing and kind of what his personal style is. And then I might say, well, if you tried this, and I would try to make some sort of contribution to him. Right. And do you, and then I would ask him, I would just say, gosh, you're right at you're right at a tipping point where you could, with just one notch, you'd be an icon level producer at my brokerage. I'm just curious, with the 10-year that you have at your brokerage producing at that high level, have they made you a partner? Right. And he's going to say, nope. And I'd say, well, at the brokerage that I'm with, you'd be at partner level. Are you
And
familiar with
when you say that, Don, are you talking about by them just being a shareholder, part
Yeah.
owner? Because you could use that on anybody. Okay.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, right. I mean, first closing, everyone's a
Absolutely.
partner, right? Yeah. So the point is, though, is that's the co-op sale that everyone should be doing that sale. Obviously, don't go after the people that you just had a crappy transaction with. But, you know, if they were somebody that you enjoy doing business with, make sure you're doing a personalized handwritten note. And actually, I would send personalized handwritten notes to all transactions, even the crappy ones, because if you had a really hard transaction with them, they probably felt like they had a hard transaction with you. And if you send a note, it's really going to set you apart. And the next time that person has a listing and you want to get your offer accepted, it will make a difference. Okay. So
let me ask you this question. I know because you and I were talking and I got some questions here. This one, I'd love to hear your perspective. Where do you see the industry headed and what would you do to prepare?
Yeah, I think we've got all kinds of fun threats coming our way right now, right? We have technology, AI, we have big tech wanting to wedge themselves between us and the consumer and then sell us back leads for 40%. Thanks, Zillow. You know, we have this NAR suit, you know, with the buyer representation. And so here's the deal. There's not going to be less sales in the future. So we're going to sell somewhere between 4 and 6 million properties every single year in the United States. And that's because people are going to continue to get married and divorced and have babies and pass away and have job transfers and have scaling up and downsizing and everything else. Okay, these are called life events and they're going to continue to occur. And so there's going to be a need to serve those people. So our industry is pretty bulletproof, at least from an opportunity perspective. Now, who is going to be able to take advantage of that opportunity? It's going to be the people that are delivering real value. Okay. If you have been a transactional agent and the consumer feels like they've got a dollar sign on their forehead, okay, pretty good chance you'll be disintermediated and we won't see you in the business in a few years. If you provide fiduciary service and people feel like you underpromised and overdelivered, you've got a great career ahead of you. So I would say just do everything possible to be a person. You know, there's I went through a training by Dan Sullivan, and he said there's 4 rules of referability. Number 1, show up on time. Number 2, do what you say, which is another way of saying under promise and over deliver. Number 3, finish what you start. Don't be a quitter, right? And if success requires a 50-foot hole, don't go digging 10 5-foot holes. Okay. And then finally, say please and thank you. And I'm suggesting you do that in a personalized handwritten note.
You got me thinking, Don, have you ever thought about, or maybe you have done that with people you've contacted in regards to the attraction side, whether it was a first call, a Zoom, or a lunch, or a one-on-one coffee? Do you send them a thank you note?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, I've got a virtual background, but can you see, I got a thank you note sitting right here going out today, you know, I mean, just like you want to have a daily ritual of getting up and, if, depending on what your background is, could be prayer, could be meditation, but it could be expression of gratitude, could, having a daily practice of sending a certain amount of personalized notes. Just think about Mark's done over 100 transactions, been in the business over 5 years, and not one agent has sent him a personalized handwritten note. Okay.
Yeah.
How easy to distinguish yourself from the crowd.
Let me add this just to the group. As some of you are going, one, I'm new. I haven't done a bunch of transactions. How am I going to do some of that? I want everybody just to get to know. I mean, there's a couple other people on here. I haven't done transaction, you guys. All I do to provide value, I brag on the Freedom Team. I brag on our leadership team. I talk about our upcoming events. I tell the story about Jeff Morrell, who would not be attending the Tuesday mornings with Kathy, but because he's a moderator, last year, he got an extra 10 transactions, all came from the masterminds we had every Tuesday. He took tidbits, had an extra 10 transactions. One was a $1.2 million deal, made an extra 100K by attending 1 hour mastermind every week for 50 of the 52 weeks. I brag on that. I talk about it. I bring up our best ones. I said, what if I sent that to you? Do you think that would help you? I'm saying all that to go, just Don, for some of those folks, a lot of times I don't know everybody's background, but you don't have to be a big producer. Like you said, Don, I'm always asking questions. Very seldom has anyone ever asked me about me. They've never asked how long you've been in real estate. Where were you before eXp? Those questions. So I'm trying to get peace of mind. I know Amy Long's on here. She's a new agent, was an attorney. And a lot of people are hesitant to reach out, either that haven't done a bunch of transactions or haven't done any. And I just want to give you guys peace of mind. People aren't asking you. If you're asking questions and providing value, they're not asking you questions. It's so interesting. Don, what do you think about that whole thing?
Oh, 100%. And, you know, it's just like that conversation I was having with Kyle, where he was a newer agent. And I was asking him if he was going to do attraction. And he said, well, no, I think I got to become an icon first. Dude, it's not about you. In fact, people are not spending any time thinking about you.
Exactly.
They're thinking about themselves. Okay. So just show up, coming from a place of contribution. You can be promoting a particular, like, what did I say a minute ago? When you're talking to your sphere, invite them to an event a quarter. You would do the same thing with your 300 agents. Well, you guys know, you know, you're having trainings every week of value. Well, why don't you invite one of those agents to one of the trainings that you know that would be appropriate for them? Okay. Here's the other thing, and I'll open offer to anybody. I mean, I was one of the top team leaders in the country, right? I took an office from 10 to 184 agents in 27 months. That office went on to become the #1 most profitable Keller Williams in the country. I've recruited 7 team leaders in the last year. Okay. If you can get an appointment with, if you get a Keller Williams team leader that is willing to learn more, you can, Sean has my number, just have them send my number to you, and you can do a 3-way text intro and just say, Don, you said that you'd take an appointment for me with a Keller Williams team leader. I've got somebody. Can I do a 3-way text intro? And I will do it.
And Don, can that team leader be anyone with a small team? Doesn't have to be someone running a franchise, just a team leader.
Well, I'm specifically talking about somebody that has built a brokerage. So it'd either be a Keller Williams team leader or someone that has built 100 agent brokerage.
100.
Okay. Yeah. So you've got plenty of people in your organization that are qualified to talk to production team leads, right?
Yeah.
I'm somewhat uniquely qualified to talk to Keller Williams team leads, or that's why I'm saying, because I'm not, you know, you're not in my organization, but I'll do that appointment for you if you'll get that appointment.
That's awesome. First of all, thank you.
Of course.
Sincerely appreciate that. Well, awesome, guys. Hey, we're at the top of the hour. Hey, Don, just want to say thank you. You have a very unique style. I can tell you're so comfortable with who you are. Your laid back personality, the coach comes out of you. Just here I am. We're supposed to be asking you questions. You turn around and running this whole thing, asking everybody questions. So thank you. You can tell you got an incredible skill set. We're so honored you did this. Guys, I'll get the recording as always. We'll get it up on Workplace this afternoon or tomorrow. But Don, thank you so much, brother. Look forward to maybe seeing you. Are you going to be down there at the in Miami?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
We'd love to come and see you there. When is your next your regional in your area?
In July.
In July? Okay.
Yeah,
We got one coming up here in Denver the 18th of April.
Very
Guys,
nice.
that's the last thing I'll end with is if you got a regional near you, I don't care what you got going on, go. You need to refuel, refire, get around the campfire, get around the people are winning. I promise you will come out of that thing. What is it? $39.95. Everybody should have one within about a 4-hour drive of them. Go, you guys. Go meet some other Icon agents, get some other referral partners, come out of their jazz, get a new focus. I can't say that enough. All of us need to get refueled. But Don, again, thank you
Hey,
so much.
Sean, I just want
Yes.
to say one thing to echo your comment there. There should never be a time in the rest of your career, if you're taking attraction seriously, that you are not building for an event. Okay. So 4 times a year, you should be building to an event, right? So it sounds like there's a regional in Denver in April. Okay. If I'm in Denver, well, I mean, I should have been building for that already 4 weeks ago. You want to be building, 6 to 12 weeks ahead of an event. We all know Miami is going to happen in October. So start building for that 90 days ahead of that time. Right.
Absolutely.
But yeah. Thanks, Sean. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time.
You guys, thank you so much, man. Everybody have a great week. We appreciate it again, Don. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, thank
You
you.
guys have a good one. All right, bye-bye.